What's goody YTBC? What's good, fight fans, boxing heads around the world? B Marsh with another boxing video. So basically, these are my final thoughts, and basically a second assessment of this great classic fight we got to watch last night, and that's this Andre Ward versus Sergei Kovalev for Kovalev's three straps at light heavyweight, WBA, IBF, and WBO light heavyweight championships. You know what I mean? Now, I had to come back. I said, man, that was a good fight. The judges get only one shot just like I do when we score these fights, you know what I mean? You check it. And last night, I watched a good fight. I paid close attention. I watched it by myself. I had no company at the crib. You know what I'm saying? I just watched it with a close eye and I came up with the conclusion that Sergey Kovalev won on my scorecard yesterday, you know what I'm saying? And I had it 114, 113, you know what I'm saying? That's basically 6 rounds apiece for each guy, but the only difference was the knockdown in round two, where Sergey Kovalev dropped Andre Ward with a clean right off a counter shot, where Andre Ward was throwing his right, and but dude caught him quicker, you know what I mean? Because he was quick on the draw early in the first half of the fight, you know what I mean? When I looked at this fight again, I told everybody on the hangout yesterday when we watched it, I said, yo, first thing in the morning when I wake up, that's the first thing I'm gonna do. I'm gonna look at this fight. I could have watched it again last night, but I just wanted to have that euphoric feeling of that fight last night and just said, fuck it, I'm gonna go to bed just off of this fight, how I seen it. But I basically watched this fight again, you know what I'm saying? And I got a kind of different scorecard, not quite drastically different, but you see, this particular fighter, when I watched it the second time, I gave Andre Ward round five. This second time that I watched it. Yesterday, last night, I didn't give him that round five. You know what I mean? But I could see now the tides were changing. The tables are turning. Andre Ward was now even actually throwing the right hand and landing a right hand landing right hands that's catching Sergey Kovalev's attention. You know what I mean? Because earlier in the rounds, Sergey Kovalev was the one, the first, let's say, first 4 rounds, okay? Because I did give him the first 4 rounds. I gave him the first 6 rounds on my scorecard yesterday, you know what I mean? But when I look at it again, that fifth round to me is the difference. And when I watch this fight, that fifth round, when I give it to Andre Ward, it's because the man was quick. He was pulling his trigger quicker. He was holding the man Kovalev. Whenever they were getting on the inside, the man Kovalev was holding, but he was holding too, and he was punching with his free arm, you know what I mean? He was letting his free arm go. And I had him winning that round, you know what I'm saying? So if that's the difference on my scorecard this morning as opposed to last night, then it looks like I got Andre Ward winning this fight on a second glimpse, a second look, you know what I mean? And, I got him winning 7 rounds, you know what I'm saying? 7 rounds to five, you know what I mean? That knockdown was the difference. But when I watch it again for the second time, I have Andre Ward winning slightly by 1 point, you know what I'm saying? I have him winning 7 rounds to five, 114 to 113, you know what I'm saying? Because of that knockdown, you know what I mean? But it's crazy, man. It's crazy. And that's not the end all be all, you know what I'm saying? This is just watching from a second glimpse, you know what I mean? Watching the whole fight again from top to bottom. And on my scorecard this time, I have Andre Ward getting round five, which I didn't give him yesterday, you know what I'm saying? But hey, it is what it is, you know what I'm saying? It's a very, very subjective sport. This is just my final thoughts, because I had to watch this fight again. This fight meant a lot to me, meant a lot to real boxing fans around the world, you know what I'm saying? And, I just had to get a clear and concise, you know, decision for this fight, you know what I mean? Because when I watched that fight last night, I was kind of conflicted, like, man, that knockdown was the difference. And, some people do have it mad wide, Andre Ward winning wide or Kovalev winning wide or Kovalev winning a very slight razor edge, razor thin decision, and vice versa for Andre Ward winning a razor thin decision. You know what I mean? Look at that. Look at that left hand right there, the left jab. And this is I believe in like round six. You know what I mean? This is I think round six. You check it, and Andre Ward was winning on the inside, man. Sergei Kovalev was getting tired, and his inside game, which we knew he don't have, it got exposed. You know what I mean? And we definitely got to see a rematch. You know what I'm saying? You check it. So those are my two scorecards, one from yesterday, and one from this morning. You know what I mean? And it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? To me, I wouldn't be mad. Hey, it's not no robbery. That's one thing I can't say. It's not a robbery. It's definitely not a robbery, you know what I'm saying? I definitely have Andre Ward, he won to me when I watched it a second time, but the first time I watched it, like the judges do, you only get one shot to watch it. I had Kovalev winning by 1 round, you know what I'm saying? So, this is just my scorecard, which at the end of the day means nothing because Andre Ward is sitting pretty with them 3 belts at his crib in Oakland, California, you know what I'm saying, on the Bay Area. So, all it means is that we need a rematch. No ifs, ands, or buts about it, you know what I mean? Who, what, when, where, and why, we do need a rematch. And, that's all I can say, you know what I'm saying? Do I feel sorry for Kovalev? Uh I don't know if I feel sorry for him because, it's not a robbery. You know what I mean? It's not a robbery. He feels he slightly won it. Andre Ward might have slightly won it. You know what I'm saying? Maybe Sergei Kovalev thinks he won wide. It's very subjective, man. And that's why this fight will not be settled. It'll be talked about for a very long time. Maybe 5, 10 years from now, it's going to be on my controversial decision series. You know what I mean? This fight will be, nobody will rest until there's a rematch, you know what I'm saying? And that's ultimately what we need, you know what I mean? So from a second glimpse, I got Andre Ward winning by 1 point, you know what I'm saying? But it is what it is, you know what I'm saying? Yesterday I had Kovalev winning by 1 point. So that just means, you know, anybody who's watching, they could have it go either way, or they could have a draw. So we need a rematch. So let me know in the comment section from a second glimpse, a second look, what if you guys actually watched it a second time. Let me know how you guys scored it as opposed to the first time. You know what I mean? I let y'all know my scorecard. So please, in the comment section below, let me know how you guys felt about this fight if you did catch it for a second time. You know what I mean? Because Lord knows I do, and I'm going to watch this fight again today before the day ends, all right? Be Marsh Boxing. Thanks for listening. Peace.